moms, dads not being able to talk to sons and daughters. And we just need to pray for that opportunity for them to come closer together and connect to each other, because there's a lot of godly wisdom that God has given moms and dads that students need. And there's some help with moral decisions that students need that can come from moms and dads. And so we're praying for moms and dads. We're praying for students that you have stronger connections here going forward. And so I hope that video and that interview helped you out. Brother Bobby, what's next?
Well, we have a very, very special guest. And I know, Dr. Reyes, that when people watch this show in its entirety, they're going to think that it was brilliant programming, how we had the Sam Velas interview, and then we had this guest that you're just going to be blown away by. They're going to think that we did it intentionally, and it's just God working it out.
It's a God thing.
So the reason I'm excited to introduce our guest is because she is, besides being a really awesome person, she's a director at the church that I pastor. Her husband is an elder at the church that I pastor, who's also a very gifted artist. Maybe she'll speak to that. And then together, he's our youth pastor, but together they lead specifically our high school youth. So it's just funny when we're listening to the Sam Velas interview, all the parallels and things that, you know, just how God can work things out. So let me just introduce, and then we can jump into the interview. Keilah Villarreal. Again, awesome. But Keilah is currently an education consultant at ESC, Region 11, and a graduate assistant at Texas Women's University, TWU. She earned her bachelor's degree from Hardin-Simmons University and worked in the field of education for 10 years before returning to school to earn her master's degree from TWU in 2012. She's now writing a dissertation in family studies to complete her doctoral degree. Her and her husband, Eric, besides being leaders at my church, they're also I'm about to fall. The parents of three just really, really cool. I would say kids. I mean, is Diego a teenager already?
Well, he's 12,
okay, so yeah, same
he's
ages.
pretty much on the cusp right there.
So what are the
right?
ages of your kids?
So my kids are 16, 13, and 12.
So she is the youth ministry.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And their oldest son, Judah, he actually plays bass on our worship team. Several weeks out of the month, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Very cool.
Yeah.
Glad you're with us.
Thank you.
So, well, Keilah, before taping, when we were in the green room, you were talking about one of the things that makes our church unique in how people, like we have, you know, Dr. Sonny Olivares and people, multiple people with degrees and things, but how nobody came from a position of wealth. You know, not as far as we know, nobody in our church was born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And you just talked about kind of that journey, and that's one thing that kind of bonds us together. If you would, could you kind of speak to that just for a moment?
Sure. So if you guys are familiar at all with the work of Ruby Payne, she really kind of set some foundational pieces there, some frameworks that kind of talk to us about values and about what people are drawn to, and how different segments of society, according to our income, often are drawn to or value certain things. So I was just talking to Bobby. Well, actually, I was talking to someone else, but Bobby was in there with us.
Kind of jumped in the conversation.
He did. I think it perked his ears a little bit. We were talking about how at our church, while 90% of us are Hispanic, we do everything in English, but we do have a mix, and we have a lot of interracial couples. Bobby's marriage is an example of that. But I think what really binds us is that a lot of us came up through poverty and kind of worked our way into like a middle income bracket. And so I think because of that, a lot of our values at our church are the same. So we still have a lot of the same backgrounds, a lot of the same humor, if you would, a lot of the same similar experiences. So we get to have those conversations together, but because most of us have kind of worked our way up into this middle income bracket, then we also have that piece of our life as well. So we have a lot of experiences, a lot of values that bond us together as a church, and I think just kind of makes it work well for us.
Yeah.
What kind of challenges had you faced, and as you've talked about your church members, what kind of challenges did they face when it comes to academics and just trying to perform well in the academic arena and to achieve and to honor God with their abilities? What kind of challenges did you face, and how did God help you with that?
Myself personally?
Yes.
Sure. So I grew up in a military family. We moved around a lot. My dad was in the Army, and then he got out, and my mom got into the Air Force. And then after that, they both got out, and they both got into the National Guard. And after my dad finally finished his degree, he went back, not really to the military, but into government work, and he started working for the federal government. And so we moved often, at least every 3 years. I think I counted it up a while back, and I think I've lived in 8 different states around the nation. And so I was having to restart often.
Okay.
I had to kind of restart in a new school often. So part of that, kind of relates to my academic studies. I was never a stellar student. I never made straight A's. I kind of always struggled, was always, a little bit difficult. I don't think any of my teachers really knew me as a star student at all. I didn't really excel in any one sport or any one area until I got to high school. And in high school, I just got a lot of leadership opportunities. And so because of that, I was able to shine in that arena. So that was exciting and that really didn't happen until I was 11 or 12, I'm sorry, 11th grade or 12th grade. And it was really the call of the Lord that helped me to pursue a PhD. It was nothing from within myself because I have never really liked academics. Actually, I told my parents that I was not going to college and that I really didn't have an interest in that because I was making $10 an hour. The military kitchen that I was working at, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I was going to stay there and do that. But no, my parents said, you are going to college. And I said, yes, ma'am. So I went, I completed that. And I really think the Lord called me into a PhD. I'm waiting to see what kind of plans he has for me after I complete this. I'm excited about it.
Wow. Praise the Lord. So what would you stand out and say, this is one of the most difficult challenges I had to face, and this is how God helped me overcome that? What would that be?
I would say that being lost in a classroom, not feeling like I was ever the stellar student, not feeling that I really had any outstanding qualities or strong
Oh, that's good.
abilities,
Yeah.
really feeling lost in the classroom as just an average kid, your average kid, kind of thinking, well, I think I'm really not cut out for greatness, or I'm not really cut out to go very far, and that was. I really figured that was my lot in life. And
Yes.
so that's where I was planning to stay. But like I said, the Lord is, because I can hear him calling me into this PhD, I'm just excited to see what he's going to do
Amen.
with that because, like I said, it was definitely not from my heart.
Well, let me ask you this question. You've probably articulated what a lot of people watching are thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there's a lot of us that didn't feel like we were standouts in the
Yeah.
classroom. And so there's a lot of us thinking, I don't even think college is for me. I don't even know, my grades aren't good enough. I'm
Right.
not good enough. I mean, all those things you said, I think that is representative of a lot of people that are watching, or parents who think their kids are thinking this. What is
Sure,
a tip
sure.
that you would give a mom or dad or a student who's having those feelings? What would you say to them?
Okay. So, my daughter struggles with kind of the same thing that I do. I think she and I are very similar cognitively. And so, because I know my journey, because I know the strengths that I now have, or the strengths really that I've always had that kind of aren't recognized in a classroom setting necessarily, I'm able to coach her through that.
Good.
And so that's really exciting. This is what I talk to her about. She asks me sometimes, how come I don't understand math the way, my brothers do, or why is history so boring, or, these different little subjects. And so I'm able to talk to her about her strengths, which are creating order out of chaos very easily. She does it really fast.
Wow.
And I know, just because of personal reflection, that means she's a systems thinker.
So you lift up her strengths.
You got it.
And I think parents need to do that.
Right.
We want to lift up a blessing for you and ask you to listen to Dr. Samuel Rodriguez as he shares about faith and education.
biggest problem in our educational system today is the lack of equality. We have children in certain areas of our country that receive one degree of education, while children in the urban centers primarily receive another sort of education, one that is diminished and diluted. We have educational inequality.
I think that our biggest problem with our education system is that in different school districts, different states, the goalposts are in different locations. The kids are just not receiving the same quality of education that they do in certain districts.
Well, thank you so much, Keilah, for sharing what you've done. Is there anything else on your heart and mind that you'd like to say to a student who's watching that would help them?
So I just want to remind everybody that we all have strengths. God created us for a purpose. We have a purpose here while we are here on earth. Look for those strengths. If you don't know what they are, ask a mentor, ask your parents, ask them to just speak into your life and tell them, what do you think my strengths are? Or how can I find out more about my strengths? There are people around you that can help you and guide you through that.
That's a great
Wow.
word.
It was, Dr. Reyes. And one thing that stood out, I think, as a parent, if we look at our kids now, especially our younger kids, and maybe they're not the straight A student or the star student, that doesn't mean that they're still not destined for greatness and that they're not going to go on to do great things and pursue higher education. So that's very encouraging, I think. I hope for a lot of parents.
Right, and we just want to say to moms and dads that are watching, maybe there's a abuelita, a grandparent, or abuelito who are watching, you know that God has given your son or your daughter or your grandchildren these gifts and these abilities and these strengths. Help them to discover that, affirm that, pray for that,